Hello, my name is Tiffany Fuentes, and I am going to do my Human Development Community Application paper on UC Irvine's Latinx Resource Center. In 2017-2018, the University of California, Irvine was officially named a Hispanic serving institution with Latinx enrollment reaching 25.7%. With Latinx student representation making up 1/4 of the student body, there is now a greater urgency than ever to provide this population of college students with the tools and resources to excel, transform, and engage with their education. However, these ideas to provide students with resources are not unique. There are also many other educational institutions for other grade levels that require the tools for the students to excel and feel prepared to pursue higher education. Students must be provided with quality instruction, resources, and facilities that will not only challenge them, but will also provide a foundation for future successes. Unfortunately, these conditions exist in few school systems and are especially rare in those with large, low-income, and minority populations. In fact, school districts with the largest concentration of economically disadvantaged students only receive about $1,000 per student on average, and they are actually less able to provide resources for those students because of their lower income. In order to ensure that every grade level is receiving proper educational resources and mentorship, there are standards that must be adhered to in order to provide students with their best chance of establishing a foothold in the education field. Standards-based reform includes 3 major theoretical components. Number 1, high standards will motivate students to improve their performance if they are challenged by rigorous academic courses. Number 2, assessments will be used to measure improvement and make important decisions about students. And 3, this reform will lead to school system accountability by providing parents, students themselves, policymakers, and advocates information about their local schools. In the dissertation conducted by Martha Zumadio, The Mental Health of Undocumented Latino College Students, the research results pointed to stressors in the areas of financial aid and assistance, family dynamics, academic success, establishing one's ethnic and personal identity, and a sense of belonging. Of these, the most powerful stressor consistently across the board was a fear of deportation for oneself or for one's family members. Another stressor that often caused significant stress and feelings of loss is leaving home for the first time. Because the Latino culture promotes collectivist ideals along with close family ties and units, it may be difficult for many individuals to find a new family on their college campus. Furthermore, the students may need to take on one or several on-campus jobs in order to support themselves so as to not be a burden on their family members back home. Being unavailable to further support the family back home with babysitting duties, completing chores, and work may leave them feeling disconnected with the individual that they were back home, especially in regards to their family unit and the place they used to hold in their family. Adapting to the college culture was an additional set of acculturation demands. It was an environment that differed from their childhoods, their hometowns, language, and community, and participants admitted that they felt different from their peers. The pressure of needing to support themselves and possibly family members back home, learning to navigate the financial aid process, along with not knowing who to ask for help when filling out FAFSA or DACA, and finally, the fear of disclosing one's undocumented status in order to receive services can all pile up on a student's back while they attempt to balance their academics, social, and mental health. Participants in this research study demonstrated and described symptoms of depression, general and social anxiety, trauma, and adjustment problems. These data results are significant in which they explain the stressors that many students may be experiencing behind the scenes, as well as reinforces the need for a Latinx Resource Center that provides a space for students to seek resources such as the Fresh Basic Needs Hub that provides students with free food and toiletries to help those students in need, as well as UCI's SOAR system that also provides assistance and help when students have questions about seeking work opportunities or even looking for different resume building opportunities. And finally, we even have a UCI's own DACA lawyer that works with students and their families regarding their immigration status and rights. The Latinx Resource Center is a newly established department within the UCI Student Life and Leadership Center that umbrellas into 12 other related sub-departments. The purpose of the center is to provide resourceful educational opportunities and outlets. Although the center is still in its early stages, it has welcomed many Latinx identifying students to engage with peers, as well as faculty and staff to further develop their personal, academic, and professional skills in order for them to be equipped to enter and engage as a competitive candidate outside of the UCI community. One of the main reasons why I personally chose this particular community establishment was because of the opportunities that the center creates, where the students can challenge themselves to learn more about their identity and take pride in their journey, such as being a first-generation college student, as I was myself. To consider only Erickson's view of identity development would fail to highlight the importance of culture and the conflicts that emerge as an individual attempts to resolve the differences between cultures. Ruiz's 1990 Chicano-Latino model describes the development, evolution, and resolution of discovering one's own ethnic identity while maintaining resilience in the face of ethnic conflicts of marginality. The model is based on 4 assumptions. The first one being marginality correlates highly with maladjustment. Number 2, negative experiences of forced assimilation are destructive to the individual and their self-efficacy. Number 3, pride in one's ethnic identity is positively correlated to mental health. And 4, the acculturation process can be detrimental to one's self-esteem. Ruiz 1990 developed 5 stages that describe the phases of developing one's ethnic identity in the face of marginality and acculturation. The first stage, causal, represents how the environment in which they are raised may denigrate Latino heritage, thus making the individual experience humiliating or traumatic experiences related to being Latino and therefore fails to identify with the culture. The second stage, cognitive, describes 3 statements that have been known to incorporate itself as a result of negative or distorted messages. Group membership as a Latino being associated with poverty, assimilation into the dominant ethnicity's culture and or society, and finally, one-way assimilation into the dominant culture, which is mistakenly seen as the path towards establishing connections and achieving success. The third stage, consequence, identifies the individual to be experiencing a fragmentation of Latino identity, even actively rejecting their Chicano-Latino heritage and lineage. The fourth stage, working through, describes the individual no longer being able to cope with ethnic conflict and feels that any other ethnic identity does not align with the majority that is seen as acceptable. Cross 2008 mentioned that this stage is characterized by an increase in ethnic consciousness and reclaiming, reintegrating, and reconnecting with ethnic identity and community. Finally, the last stage, the successful resolution stage, is characterized by the individual's path towards not only greater acceptance of themselves, but the Latino culture as a whole. This stage is signified to improve self-esteem and self-efficacy now that they have come to terms with their ethnicity. The community project is relevant to the minority population of Latinx identifying individuals on the UC Irvine campus because it provides a safe space for them to connect and network with others. However, there are still issues with the Latinx community that they face, such as physical space that is allocated for the Resource Center. Students decided to partner up with Jessica Ortega, one of the school psychologists at the UCI Counseling Center, in order to advocate the needs of the growing UCI Latinx student population. Research suggests that Latinx students take longer to complete their degree and lack the access or support to pursue higher education. For instance, there is a 15% gap in retention rate compared to non-Hispanic students. While there is still limited institutional support towards current resources and events catered to UCI's Latinx student population, although the community has worked hard to implement Nuestra Grad, which is a UCI graduation ceremony for Latinx students and is facilitated all in Spanish. Because a quarter of the UCI population identifies as Latinx, it is vital to understand the impact college and its many stressors can have on an individual. especially if it is the first time the student is away from home. One of the difficulties that one may experience is the loss of sense of belonging because they are no longer in their home environment and are away from their support systems. Furthermore, finding a new support system on campus may be difficult when not many resources are available, easily accessible or wide known, such as the UCI Counseling Center, UCI Source Center, UCI Fresh Hub, and that not only provides the UCI Counseling Center only provides short-term therapy at most, which can be highly frustrating if the individual needs more support and assistance. Finally, common stressors that may arise during one's college years that can trigger distress include family and academic balance, cultural incongruity, and microaggressions linked with political climate, DACA, undocumented statuses, and in regards to financial aid. The Latinx Resource Center addresses the need to not only collaborate with students and faculty in providing a safe space for the population, but the center has also collaborated with mental health professionals in order to create an innovative establishment that provides mental, emotional, and academic success. Jessica Ortega works as a full-time psychologist at the UCI Counseling Center, chooses and trains a team of undergraduates in the coach program, is in charge of Nuestra Grad, as well as speaks on behalf of mental health professionals with Mesa Unida. She is a true jack of all trades and volunteers her hours, passion, and skills to help her community and the students who reside there. Ortega's work with students is guided by a multicultural lens that seeks to understand and honor their unique stories and intersectional identities within their socio-cultural identities. Ortega intentionally seeks for methods in order to help her students experience authentic expression and encourages them to define and build resiliency in the face of hardship. Ortega works from a generalist approach and often incorporates cognitive behavioral therapeutic techniques while working with issues related to college adjustment and academic persistence, Latinx mental health, first-generation and transfer student experiences. She decided to get involved with the development of the Latinx Resource Center to garner more outlets for leadership development, training, and peer program coordination and supervision. The Latinx Resource Center is a space for authentic connections to be created, as well as a space for advocacy. I myself signed petitions and worked alongside Mesa Unida in order to advocate for this department. Blood, sweat, and tears have gone into advocating and establishing this department because the students felt that their needs were not being met. And with the new data being released of how many incoming students were Latinx identifying, it was critical to put the department into motion in order to support the populations needed, such as bridging the community together. Providing support and mental health outlets not only provides the students with opportunities to balance their new stressors, but it also supports the bridging of the community together and helping each individual on their journey of discovering their own ethnic identity. And although my undergraduate career had its ups and downs, one of the stressors that I personally struggled with the most was discovering and coming to terms with my ethnic identity. I was raised in a predominantly white community, and I always felt out of place because I didn't look like the Hispanics at my school, but I also was too ethnic to fit in with the white students. I never found my niche until going to college, and I met many unique and diverse people that helped me grow out of my shell. However, being able to connect and grow alongside others at the Latinx Resource Center would have also helped me find resources whenever I had questions or concerns related to my stressors. Therefore, I personally worked hard to help the Latinx population at UCI because they not only helped me thrive and find my inner leadership strengths, but the UCI community helped me come to peace with my ethnic heritage. Thank you so much, and I really hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Happy Week 8.